Our final award tonight is presented to an individual who addresses one of the world's most critical grand challenges of keeping our planet, our communities, including our most vulnerable communities, healthy. She's been named by Time magazine as one of the 100 most influential women in the world, and widely recognized for her work to protect our nation's air, water, and land from pollution that threatens human health. Lisa Jackson is the Vice President of Environment, Policy, and Social Initiatives at Apple. She oversees Apple's efforts to minimize adverse impact on the environment by addressing climate change through renewable energy and energy efficiency, using greener materials, and inventing new ways to conserve precious resources. Prior to joining Apple in 2013, Lisa served as the administrator of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency after starting her EPA careers as a staff-level scientist during the 1980s. During her tenure, Administrator Jackson, the first African-American administrator of the EPA, focused on priorities that included taking action on climate change, improving air quality, working for environmental justice, and building strong state and tribal partnerships. She led efforts to modernize outdated chemical management laws, called for unprecedented innovation in drinking water protection, and announced tough standards to clean the air we breathe. Lisa Jackson also made it a priority to expand outreach to communities that are historically underrepresented in environmental action. The EPA stepped up protection for vulnerable groups, including children, the elderly, and low-income communities that are particularly susceptible to environmental and health threats. Through this work, she has committed her professional life to building hope and opportunity for future generations. And now it is my distinct honor to introduce the 2016 Humphrey Public Leadership Award winner, Lisa Jackson.
My goodness. Wow, it's even more intimidating up here, but following the ambassador, no easy feat. And you're ready to go home, I'm guessing, but I just want to bend your ear for a second. Actually, when Dean Schwartz called me personally to ask me to come, he said, "I promise you it's going to be fun." And you were right. It is. It's also inspiring. I leave here tonight with a whole to-do list of things to do, thanks to my fellow honorees. So let me start by thanking them for giving me inspiration tonight to fight another day. Those of you who are now retired, I'm jealous, but I have a little bit more time to go. I also just want to thank the Dean for recognizing the work we did at EPA, and that I think we try to continue every day in my new role at Apple. I just want to tell you one story. I don't really have great life lessons to impart, but sitting there, I had to think, in the audience tonight is my cousin, who's actually a professor here, Sam Myers. I don't know if he left already, but Sam's my cousin, and his wife, Sheila Arts. And also is Dr. Alan McCormick. Alan and I were classmates at Tulane University, class of 1983. Road Green Wave, in the Chemical Engineering School, Mr. President. And I guess my story is just to tell you something you already know, especially in this crowd, which is you can teach public affairs, but public service is a choice. And it's a choice and thank you to all of you who help young people and mid-career people make that choice, I hope, every day here at the Humphrey School. I'll tell you about my choice, because it's kind of an interesting one, and I think the lesson is that it can come from almost any place, this call to public service. Alan and I were undergrads at Tulane. We finished in '83, so it's late '70s, early '80s, and it was the time of Love Canal, which if you studied it, those of you studying environmental policy, remember that the nation was becoming aware that we had created these toxic time bombs all over our country, these places where we had disposed of chemical waste, thinking they'd never be seen again. Well, Love Canal, it was an actual power canal, wasn't finished, and when they covered it over, eventually a housing complex was built on top of it, and eventually when it rained, the water table rose high enough that chemical waste oozed into people's basements. And I was a chemical engineering major at Tulane in New Orleans, Louisiana, and I was teasing Alan earlier. We were trained to be oil and gas chemical engineers to work at a chemical plant. That's what I thought I would do with my life. And I remember the moment thinking, it's chemical engineers who make the waste through our work. It's our responsibility as citizens to clean it up, to get rid of it. So my message tonight is, wherever you go to work next, remember that the person next to you, the person you come in contact with, they may not think they're in a career of public service, but they are responsible as citizens, just like you are, to do everything they can to leave it better than it was before, to advance the common good. I truly believe that. The other thing I get asked all the time, after 25 years in public service and now 3 years at Apple, is, well, what's the difference? And both sides sort of ask, which is better? Don't tell my boss. Because Apple's a wonderful place. And by the way, we're 93% renewable around the world, just saying. 100% renewable in the US. Doing great work on green chemistry, great work on the circular economy. But the thing about public servants, and you heard it here tonight in all of its beauty, is it's so diverse and rounded and rich and full. To be a public servant is to have days when you sit in front of people who really want to kill you and are angry at you because their government isn't giving that which they believe is their birthright, and to have to work through those issues, to have to see both sides, to have to compromise. Sir, thank you for everything you did for the environment. And I think there's so much today that says business people should go into government and fix it. And I hear all that, but I think I did it the right way, which is to get all that wonderful experience and then hopefully bring back to our friends in the private sector the ability to show them where they can plug in, how they can work for the common good as well. So don't get discouraged on those times when you see everyone saying, well, maybe business has a better idea, because I guarantee you, you have learned and absorbed so much doing it the way you are. So again, thank you so much. I am honored beyond words, especially with this group of honorees tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you.